too fun.
Welcome to the Further Forward podcast.
Thank you. Oh, it's always fun to do things with you. So thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. Same. So glad you're here. We're going to go right into it because I don't feel like we need to do a whole huge thing. I start the podcast the same every episode. Who are you and how are you?
Who am I and how am I? These are big questions for like a humanities professor.
I'm ready to hear.
So I'm Liz Bucar. I am like my daytime, like my job hat is a professor of religion at Northeastern University, but I'm also an author, which I have to say I'm on my 5th book, and I just kind of have leaned into that like title and role. I think about books like that's not it wasn't until my like 2 books ago that one of my editors said you're such a good writer, and I was like I'm a writer. She's like this is like your 4th book. What are you talking about? So I'm a writer, and I have a new book about kind of wellness, kind of religion, spirituality. It's kind of like neither one of those things either, but sort of like finding a sense of like what is going on in the world. Wellness culture has failed me, has failed midlife women. What do I know from religious studies and my teaching and research that could be helpful, even though I myself am not a religious person, no religious affiliation. I'm not trying to convert anybody. So that is like the stuff that I'm thinking about and writing about in my book, which is coming out soon, but as well on my Substack and my I'm also a content creator. I'm okay saying that on Instagram. So I do a lot of stuff on Instagram too. Yeah. So don't follow me unless you want lots of content because I'm always posting. There's so much fun there. So it's like very different from my day job. So that's who I'm. How am I? Well, I mean, I'm hanging in there. I mean, there's a lot going on right now, right? So personally, a lot going on in the household because my kid is applying. She's a senior in high school, applying to college. This is the month where they get rejected, get in, Ivy Day. It's just a lot. It's a whole lot of feelings.
Whole lot.
So I am regulating the emotions of a 17-year-old. And somehow my partner, he's like, yeah, I feel for her, but I don't feel it with her. And
that's interesting.
I feel it all.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot. And then the world, I mean, so I actually quite know this about me. My doctoral research when I was in grad school, I did research in Iran. So I've spent a lot of time in Iran.
Oh.
What is happening in Iran, I mean, it's not personal to me in the way that's personal to Iranians, but like I am really devastated by what's happening in Iran and the sort of threats of like with this week, whenever there's threat of like, annihilating this entire civilization, right? Which is it's like a proud culture. It's a very historically deep culture. It's like so I hate all of that. But I'm happy to be here with you. So I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
I feel like that's always the toggling of there's so much to be grateful for. There can be joy in the moment, but there can also be stuff that's incredibly upsetting or that makes us anxious or that, is affecting the people that we love. This is part of why this podcast needed to exist, because how do you exist in all of the things that you are and that you hold? And it's just,
it's a lot. Without doing the thing that I know that neither one of us want people to do, which is just to withdraw from it. Right? Go into your like spiritual bypassing, whatever you want to call it, like tuning out. That's not actually good for you, but also that doesn't help us like rebuild. So it's hard. It's a hard balance, right? So
yeah. I think it's too, just as women, as mothers, you kind of get used to perhaps fixing and intervening. And when there are problems that you cannot fix, that you personally cannot go in and change, you can't save anybody, it can definitely feel like, well, I'm just not going to do anything because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be useful, or, so I'm just going to make my avocado toast and like hide.
And I don't think I realized I couldn't fix everything until COVID. Actually,
oh.
I mean, I think I was like, I can fix all these things, but COVID was that moment where I was like, I really cannot, like, I cannot.
Like, it's done.
I mean, I still like, I don't know if I told you the story, but so it's April, right? So April Fool's Day, my kid pranked me. I didn't realize at the time. I got a DM in the middle of the day, which was just like a piece of paper which was like an ad drop form saying, "I'm dropping AP Physics." No, and it's signed by her and her teacher.
Oh
And
my god.
like, whoa. And so I went into write, like, if she's dropping AP Physics that she has an A in, it's because she's just completely spiraling about this college thing and nothing matters anymore. Like, I went to all of it. I'm like, I'm gonna call the therapist. I'm gonna like an hour later, she's like, "April Fool's, mom." And I was like, already had fixed the problem
Yeah.
25 or tried to, right? So that's really like one of my demons, right? Like trying to
Mm,
control and fix. Where
yeah.
because like, yeah, you can't, right?
You
But
can't, and you just can't.
it's a lesson I learned much later in my life than you have learned. So good for you. Yeah.
Well, if I give myself credit for anything, it is definitely that I am a people watcher, right? And I'm a deep listener. So when you share your story with me, I take it in. And sometimes I go too far and internalize other people's stuff, but I will carry that piece of information forever of like, you can't fix everything.
Here's what you do. I called it that. I was like, when you see this text, don't get angry. We're not going to lead with anger. We're going to like, we hear you. Let's solve this together. Let's talk about it tonight. Tell us what's going like. Yeah. So you manage anyway. So like, it's,
You're parenting like a millennial. I'm proud of you. we're, we're not going to lead with anger. We're going to talk about it.
yeah.
That's very millennial of you.
It must be because I'm incredibly online. So
I know.
you don't
See,
even call them millennial.
we're we're rubbing off on you.
Yes.
No, I
Yes.
love it. Okay, so I have to ask. I've never asked any of these questions. So for people listening, I'm learning alongside of you. Why religion if you are not religious? Yeah.
Sense. By mistake. I mean, that's how my entire life and everything I do is a mistake. Yeah. I'm not, I mean, like, yes, I'm baptized Catholic. I grew up kind of Protestant at Congregationalist church. My mother is more religious, but I, as an adult, as a young adult, was never religious.
Hmm.
But I think so. I first got into religion like as an intellectual political thing because I was working in DC after college. I was doing human rights work,
Okay.
nonprofit work, and I was interested in reproductive health issues, so access to contraception and safe motherhood and abortion in Latin America. Turns out the Catholic Church is important to engage. And so
Hmm.
I went to work for an organization called Catholics for Choice, which is a pro choice, pro contraception Catholic organization. And I was like, whoa, like religion isn't just the problem here. Religion is part of the solution. People are already using these religious ideas and traditions instead of talking about ensoulment, they're talking about the Catholic idea of safe motherhood or responsible parenting or bodily integrity. That's like my intellectual into it,
Hmm.
entry into it. And then I was applying to grad school, and I was like, "Hey, I'm like interested in this like legal, human rightsy, social justice, religion thing." So I applied to three kinds of graduate school:
Wow.
PhD in religion, ADs, law degrees, and public health degrees. Applied to 18 schools. Here we go. And then, like, I was sitting there with everything in front of me, and, like, I'm just really interested in religion. So, like, I'm just gonna go to religion and start there and see what
Wow.
and so I deferred law school. My intention was just to do, like, a little bit of, like a master's and then go to law school, and I started at the University of Chicago, and I deferred law school there. And a year in, they're like, "Great, you're coming next year to law school," and I was like, "I'm not. Like, this is I'm kinda hooked, like, there's so much here, I'm gonna stay for the PhD." So, a little bit by mistake, right? But my evolution has been from religion is a problem that needs to be solved to religion is a resource that you can use for the social justice things I care about. In fact, you have to understand it if you wanna advocate for a lot of stuff to where I am now, which is a really much more uncomfortable space. I mean, you were sort of saying when we were filming you and I at Down Under, I was like, well, you're probably more comfortable with spirituality than I am as a religion professor. Like,
Yeah, you did say that.
I didn't say that. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with this sort of more personal narrative of it, but I've kind of come to
Mm.
a point now where I've realized, I'm in my 50s. I spent most of my career studying religion, teaching about religion of other people, like as an anthropologist. And it has rubbed off on me. It has affected the way I think about ethics, how I want to be, what a full human life is like, how I think about birth and death and dying. Um, Not so much parenting. I guess that's millennials, but maybe there's some parenting. And I still have no religious affiliation, but I've come to see that religion is my primary conversation partner. Like it's like philosophy on steroids.
Mhm.
I learn from religious communities and traditions in ways that really change and remake me. And so that the new work is more in that space where I'm trying to lean into. all right, I don't religious affiliation. I don't belong. I'm not a Presbyterian or a Jew or a Muslim, or whatever. I don't belong in a box. But most people would call me spiritual, or I'm like a seeker in some way, which is
Right.
uncomfortable. I was in the New York Times a couple weeks ago being quoted as a public theologian for non-religious affiliated people, which again is a really kind of uncomfortable category for me, but that
Yeah.
is where I am. But that's been an evolution. So the answer to your question, why religion, kind of my mistake. And then why religion has also like why I study religion, the answer to that question has changed through my
Wow.
career and I think through my life because the two things have affected each other.
When you are teaching at Northeastern, what do you hope your students get out of your classes? What are you teaching them? And are you also teaching young people who don't have a religious affiliation, or is it a very mixed group?
It's a mixed group. I'd say the majority of my students would fall into the category of not having religious affiliation, maybe they'd call themselves spiritual, not religious, but probably fall into the N None, like the
Yeah.
no religious affiliation category. So what I'm trying to teach, it's a lot of like religious literacy at Northeastern. So like my most
Mhm.
popular class is a class about sexual ethics. And partly they walk in the class like, oh great, it's about sex. I care about sex. And it gets some requirements, oh, it's an ethics requirement out of the way. And they're like, this is gonna be fun. I hear I hear Professor Bucar's a fun teacher or whatever. And they're like, but religion has anything to do with me. And in fact, the first like essays that they write or the first like class discussions we have, I ask them to talk about position or sort of like religion, like how was religion part of their upbringing? And many of them are like, no, like well, my mom's religious, but it's not important for me. And I'm like, by the end of this class, I want you to see how religion has affected your life. Right. So like the last thing they do in that class is they do a piece where they analyze a piece of pop culture, like a piece of music, actually. I
Okay.
want you to see now that you've been through this class, how much of Beyonce's song is actually either purity culture or responding to purity culture. Some of this, evangelical, like sort of like underlying logic about women's bodies, black bodies, whatever, women's bodies. Some of that is religious. And so you didn't even know it was affecting you. So that's a
Wow.
big part of it. It's like I want you to see how it is affecting your life, like in this class on sexual ethics, like how it's affecting healthcare and on these issues, right? How it's affecting
Mhm.
your dating life, right? So I have like last time I taught a lesbian stand up in like week 3. She's like, I didn't realize that I was like falling into these like categories of like gender norms and lesbian dating life, and it's all this evangelical purity culture stuff. I was like, yeah,
Wow.
like I want you to see that. So that's a big part of it. And the other part of it is maybe there's 3 parts. There's that part, then I want them to, like, see religious difference is, like, not scary, like, I don't want them to think, like, "Oh, Islam is, like, foreign and bad and, like, it treats its women badly." I want them to see that there are really interesting values and norms within Islam around sex and ethics and gender that they hadn't maybe been exposed to that might,
Mhm.
again, help their own thinking. And then the 3rd piece, like, I'm thinking of the other class I'm teaching which is called Selling Spirituality, but it's really the mindfulness killjoy class. I wanna mess with them a little bit. Like, I wanna make them comfortable. I want them to come in and be like, "Yes, I love crystals and saging and mindfulness and all that woohoo," and I want them to be like, "I want you to see how this is not as uncomplicated as you think. It's
Right.
implicated in capitalism. You don't like capitalism. It's implicated in that. It's got all these structures of injustice. White supremacy is everywhere. And
Yeah.
also religion is everywhere, but
Right.
you're consuming and being sold a very sort of watered down version. So that's the kind of stuff I do in my class. Like
Yeah.
a full range of stuff. It's the same kind of stuff I do in my writing and I try to do in my content creation too.
Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing I guess is if I if we go back to the mindfulness piece, the third piece that you just mentioned, as a springboard to go forward into the new book and all of your research around that and how this came to be, you know, I as a person who yeah, I'm one of those people who would say spiritual but not religious, even though I grew up going to church and as a kid had the fondest memories of Sunday school, of dressing up, of singing in the choir, of standing up and reading in front of the church, like all of
They
the
have
really
perspective.
good
Yeah.
yeah.
Core
Uh,
memories, definitely.
luckily, yeah, because I know that also for the grown-ups in my life, church was not always that, and it could be very complicated, depending on who the pastor was, and just lots of stuff around sex and money and deceit. And I know that my experience is just mine. um, so then when I spring forward, I don't go to church now, um, but I do pray, and I feel something akin to prayer when I'm in meditation, or even when I'm in nature, not like walking my dog, but like if I'm in a national park or I'm standing next to the redwoods, there's something that feels different. So then that makes me think, okay, so if I am lighting incense or I'm carrying a crystal, who gives a fuck? Right? Like, tell me why I should give a fuck, for lack of a better, like, what are we missing?
Yeah. So it's interesting because the last book I wrote was about kind of wanting you to feel a little bit bad about lighting the burning the sage, right? It was about culture, corporation, and religion. I wanted people to see how, like, when you do this stuff, sometimes you're implicated in problematic things that you might not want to be, right? So we talk about just yoga, right? The yoga industry, just the yoga industry in general
The
has
machine.
right. Whether that's studios or apparel or whatever, there are some spaces are really spaces of not the place that we met. And that's why it's one of the things I really like about Down Under. But there are a lot of yoga studios. There are spaces of whiteness, where
Mhm,
only whiteness, right, and only a
mhm,
certain type of body teaches. So able-bodied, white, female, thin, whatever.
mhm.
Just as an example, I want people in the last book, I wanted people to be like, "Oh, like, maybe that's you're gonna find a different kind of studio or a different way to practice." I wanted to see how their entitlement and their privilege, they were, basically people like me, right? So, white
Yeah.
women were, benefiting from, some of these structures of injustice that they don't like, but, like, they were benefiting from them in their sort of spiritual practices and their wellness practices. But the new book is less about, like, yucking your yum, I like to say. That's a
Yeah.
family. And more about, "All right, I get maybe that's a little problematic, but now what do I do?" And I'm so the answer to your question, like, why is it a problem that you're doing that? Like, there are, like, social structural reasons why they might be problematic, but also, like, I think it could work better for you if you knew why you were doing it and what it was supposed to do for you, right? And that kinda is a nice segue into, like, what we're trying to do together and,
Yeah.
like, what we're gonna do together at this event, which is, like, motion. We just sort of love, like, movement, right? And I think for both of us, it's part I mean, I'm getting, like, this is harder for me to say, but it's part of maybe my spiritual practice, right? It's more than just self-care. It's
Mhm,
really about building community. It's about my values. It's about
mhm.
making myself, but not just remaking myself physically, right? It's not just the in-body
Yes.
thing at the end
Yes.
every month, right? But, like, really remaking myself. And I think
Mhm,
that religion is a place I go to figure out, like, what do we mean by remaking ourselves? How do religious traditions think about movement, right? So if you think about yoga, what is an asana supposed to prepare you for? What is it, how we forgot that, like, that the tying of, like, culture, not culture, character rather, and
mm,
movements, right? And, like,
mhm.
and who we are and what we do. And religious traditions have great ways of thinking about that. And then religious studies too has ways of, like, looking at, like, okay, when we gather together and we do a group strength training class because I do a small group strength training class. What does it mean to do that together versus separately? What does it mean to repeat that together? What does it mean to go to a class where you're doing the same choreography or you're, like, yelling the same stuff or you're following there's a particular teacher. Like, so you're like a teacher like that for me, right? So I mean, we talked about this last week when we did this little recording it down under how we met and how you, like, got me back into strength training. But what I didn't say is, like, that class became a real lifeline for me in COVID. So much so, like, when my sisters would come to visit out of town, like, all I want to do is go to in-person Ashley class with you guys. I want you and my sisters are the closest people to me in my life. I was like, what do you guys want to do what do you want to do for birthday, Liz? I want to go to Ashley class together. Then we'd
Thank you.
all sit for your class, right? Like, so for me, it was like part of, like, it wasn't just like exercise and lifting, right? It was part of, like, again, it was a lifeline, me figuring out how to get through, me trying
Yeah.
to find some as a total introvert, but still trying to find some sort of
Yep.
community. So I think that these kind of things, like, if movement can remake us, let's be more intentional about how
Mm,
we want to remake ourselves, right?
yeah.
Like, What are
Yeah.
your core values? What do you want from a community? What did you come to movement for? Is the
Right.
movement serving you in that way?
Right.
Um, where could you challenge yourself? What kind of teacher do you want and need? What kind of space do you need and want? And are you really found that? And it's
Mhm.
not a one size fits all, right? Like I need
Yeah.
something different than, than you do. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think, yeah, it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely making me think of, at this point, I've taught thousands and thousands of people, and in, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different, like, methodologies, and I do hear a lot of the same sort of unconscious, I guess, conscious but unconscious behavior of like, "Well, this is just close to my house. Well, this just fits with my schedule." Um, there's not always a grounding in what somebody's doing. It's just like, I know I need to move my body and this is fine. This this works. And it's you that's making me think like what I already inherently feel and know and what I look for. You're putting this language and almost like framework to it, which is all of that stuff matters in that remaking process because it it just becomes like a part of my inner compass,
Hmm.
and the basis of which other decisions get made, including how I parent, all of those things. And so for it to just be like a throwaway is such a miss.
I think it's a missed opportunity, right? And I think so. There's the one thing of like doing after movement, post movement, you being so receptive to like, which is why we'll do sort of like when we do our down under yoga event,
Yeah.
we'll do like
Yeah.
the reflective stuff afterwards, right? Or
Right.
how when you did your um workshop that I went to a couple weeks ago, we did sort of like a small like writing prompt afterwards, right? You're in a different space. There's that piece of it. But then I think you're right. It's like it's so easy to be like, well, this is the studio that's close to me, or this was a gym that's close to me. This one had a, a, um, a deal. So I just
Yeah.
did it, right?
Yeah.
I get in a car, which I hate. Even I don't need to get in a car to work out in Brookline. There's a bunch of gyms I could walk to, but I get in a car and I drive to my gym because I found a gym that does these other things that
Yeah.
I right? And it's the
Yeah.
gym that, I mean, you just saw this video. It's a gym that when I did my first pull up, like, they celebrated almost more than I did, right? Like, it was so much more because, like, first of all, I didn't only did the pull up because I had a certain trainer who could see that in me, and I was very
Mhm.
for it. But
Mhm.
then, there with, like, my gym bestie and the trainer and, like, that kind of, like, real community, real support, but
Right.
also, like, real witnessing, right? Like, like, fellowship. These are religious words, witnessing, fellowship.
Yes.
That's what it felt
Yes.
like. It was like they really saw me, and they really shared that moment with me. And that's worth getting a car and driving for, quite frankly,
100%.
right? Yeah.
100%. Which is why we journaled after my class, which is why we'll do that work in our co-led workshop. It's why the Courage Campaign is the way it is. There is, when you take vigorous movements, when you do something hard, and then you do something, I'll call it soft, that integrates the hard, then my question is, well, what do you get to go do now? You've shifted something, you've gone somewhere, and we leave classes and we leave workshops and conferences and all that stuff, and the magic stays behind.
Mhm.
You could carry that forward and you could call your legislators. There's so many ways that you can then create good from the good that you created within yourself,
Yeah. Right,
which
I
I
mean
think interested me in your work more because of social justice and wellness needing to be together. Not, it's not like a nice to have, like it is the thing
yeah,
to
and
me.
it's very clear this last 6 months, like, what wellness influencers will not speak out about what's happening politically, right? They're worried about losing followers or ver so there's that whole problem with wellness, but I think there's also, like, in the movement, like, if your hour-long whatever movement class is the best part of your day, how do you carry that forward? And it's not that I think that, like, religions are the only way of knowing how to do this, but there's 2 things. One is that, like, r understandings of movement and, fitness actually have their origins in a Protestant movement called Muscular Christianity, so there's this historical reason to, like, understand. there's
Yeah.
also, like, the way in which movement has been really part of liturgy for religious community. So there's some, like, cool, like, things to look at there. But I also just that religious studies, like, as an academic discipline, we have all these, like, tools and frameworks and theories of understanding why that happens that help you understand why it's what happening for you. Like, virtue theory, this idea that, like, you do a thing over and over again, how it changes you, like, actually changes you, your character, or something like, I mean, like you are a charismatic teacher. And I not just like your personality is sparkling and, you look good on all those things are true, but there's also something that you only, like, have that authority and charisma if you're tapping into something that people already needed, right? So on those Zoom lifting classes during COVID, you, like, saw us in a way we needed to be seen. You, like, held space for, like, what was happening in the world. You didn't pretend like we weren't going through COVID.
Right.
And so that too, like, we have, like, theories of thinking about charisma and, like, problematic forms of charisma you wanna look out for, like, what does
Right.
real leadership and guidance and teachers look for? So there's also just, like, all this cool framework and theory that you don't have to, like, convert. I'm not trying to convert anybody, but I
Yeah.
think there's some, just really helpful to get clarity at what's happening. That's what I've found for my own sort of teaching. And that's sort of like what I'm trying to do a little bit beyond wellness, kind of like, okay, you like spiritual fitness classes, you love Soul Cycle.
Right.
Let's figure out what it's doing for you, what it could maybe there's some risks there or some harm that you didn't think about, but also how could it work better for you if you understood some more of what was happening?
So you're not saying, or maybe you are. So tell me, like, it doesn't sound like to me you're saying, hey, Soul Cycle's been problematic for XYZ reasons. Stop writing. Don't give them your money. You're you're saying that's your choice. And then here are these other things,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking it.
you know?
People I know are addicted to Soul Cycle. So you and I have talked about this because I went to my first Soul Cycle class as research for this book, which is
Yes.
crazy to me because, like, I'm into all these, like, crazy things. I've never been to an actual Soul Cycle class, and I think I DM'd you afterwards, and I was like, I went to a Taylor Swift ride, which was probably, and I was like, "I just got yelled at by Taylor Swift for 45 minutes, and it's, like, too much stimulation with the lights, and I didn't, like it." I was like, "The workout was great. I didn't like it. I feel like I got
Yeah.
screamed at by Taylor Swift for 40 minutes." And you're like, "I mean, Jesus showed up the first time I took a Soul Cycle class." And
Yeah.
I
Oh
was like,
my God,
"Jesus
girl.
didn't show up for me."
Like 30 seconds in, I'm tears streaming down. I'm like, the Lord is here and he has come for me right now. But also Taylor Swift, you fucked up. That wasn't the good wasn't the best ride that you could have done.
No,
No shade to the Swifties. I know that they are a strong community, but
yeah,
that wouldn't have been my first choice for you.
I did not create that. Anyway, so I'm not trying to take away anyone's Soul Cycle, just
Yeah,
like I'm not
yeah,
trying to take away anyone's yoga, right? Like, I
right,
would never give up whatever movement, like, worked for me. I'm not giving up yoga, I'm not giving up strength training, like, I don't care. Like, you tell me it's
right.
not, yeah, I don't care. But
Yeah, what
I'm
do we do?
I'm interested in, like, again, eh, if you learn about it and you're, like, worried about learning about the problematic things, I'm kinda like, "Well, why?" Like, if there are problematic things involved, you should consent, right? You should know what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
Also, you maybe would be better served by a different cycling community if there were some things that Soul Cycle you didn't like, for example,
Mhm.
or a different form of movement within the yoga, you know, there's so many forms of yoga,
Right.
or a different studio, or a different teacher, or just, like, learning a little bit more about, like, how to make an actual just class work better for you, right? Like, I know teachers are always like, "Set an intention beginning of class," but I mean, like, a more robust version of that, right?
Right.
I This is not a one size fits all. I do not have a list of do's and don'ts. My regiment is not your regiment,
Right.
things work different for different people. But I think that we've been for so long, I at least have felt like I've been sold very watered down versions of techniques and practices. And the idea that, like, I got to do them all a little bit. Or if I just find the right combo, I can life hack myself into whatever.
Okay, yes,
Beauty,
yes.
perfection, living forever. And, like, I don't think that works. I, like, just think we have to go deeper to make it work. And
That
do
okay,
the yucky stuff too, the stuff that's uncomfortable.
yeah,
Vibes, not just the good vibes, all that stuff. Do the work, do the
all
discipline,
of that.
all that.
So, this idea of watered down wellness, I have many thoughts, obviously, but what if somebody doesn't know that what they're doing is watered down? Does your book help them to be able to figure out or maybe even see the difference between something that would be more impactful and something that wouldn't?
Yeah, I think we don't know, right? We're just sort of someone
Yeah,
said,
you're just
"Or a
doing.
sound bath," you're just like, "Do it. This is the new thing." It seems like the new thing because Instagram
Yeah.
just told us it was new, even though it's been around for
Yes.
centuries. Yeah, I mean, that's actually how the book is organized. Like, it's organized around 7 different super popular practices. So sound baths is one, AA is one, yoga
Wow.
is one,
Okay.
psychedelics is one, mindfulness
Okay.
one, detox diet and cleansing, food is one, right? And the idea is that in each chapter, I'm going to show you a little history, like, detox dieting didn't come from anywhere. Guess what? There's a religious history there. I just want you to know. I know you think you don't have anything to do with it, but like it's there.
Right.
And then, so here's some problematic forms of what I see as cleanses and detox dieting in the wellness world. And then what would it look like to take food like more seriously? So not
Mhm.
just what we eat, but how we eat. Or what would it, so same thing with mindfulness. Like maybe you're
Right.
just like someone told you to be mindful. You should be mindful all the time and then everything will be solved.
Right.
Okay, well, what is that really decoupled from things like a community and ethics? What would it look like to put it back into a community? For that chapter, I went and did, a silent retreat at a monastery, a more sort of like intentional form of Buddhist form of meditation, interviewed some of the monks there to get a sense of like what do they think is missing from mainstream mindfulness, like, that people are consuming in all spaces, right?
Right.
School,
Right.
schools and stuff. So like that's what each chapter is supposed to give you like a little taste of, or psychedelics. I mean, I didn't want to go there in this book, but I kind of had to, given that that's a space that people
Yeah.
are interested in. And
Yeah.
psychedelics are something that like what we would call psychedelics today are things that religions have used for a very, very, very long time.
Wow.
Um, and not just indigenous communities, but certainly indigenous communities, right? But even, just like super complicated, thick history. But the thing that's cool about that for me as someone who's nervous about something like a psychedelic is a great example. If something is powerful enough to heal us or to like completely transform us, then it's also powerful enough to mess us up, right?
Mhm.
Also with these really like I'm drawn to, I don't want to, there's no shade to Pilates here, but I'm drawn to yoga over Pilates because of part of what I think yoga has in terms of some of the spiritual stuff. People are drawn to psychedelics partly because what they think it's, the power it has. But
Right.
I think that we don't do enough of like risk mitigation. Religious containers do that kind of, right? So that chapter looks at some of the history of religion and psychedelics.
Mm.
It talks about the popularity of psychedelics, and then I, like, go and study, but also participate in a religious ritual with a religious community to think about, like, what are the guardrails put on the taking of ayahuasca as a sacrament? How does that change the experience, the integration afterwards? Like, what feels different about that than
Right.
taking it on a couch with a
Right.
therapist, right?
Right.
Or at a retreat, in Peru or something. What does the religion add to it? So I do the things, you don't have to do the things, but the idea is that, like, there's there's some there's some history and some sort of integrity and some, like, again, some ideas and frameworks there that might be useful to you even if you're not interested in the religion, that
Right.
particular religion per se. Because again, I didn't there's no conversion happening for me through this book, even though I did everything. And some of the practices, actually, the more I leaned in, I was like, "I don't wanna do this. This is, like, not for me."
Wow.
It sounds
Okay.
like I wanna do more of this. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
What does that mean? Yeah.
I need to know more.
How did you come up with the 7?
I just sort of tried to pick things that I thought, a lot of people most things are things that people have some, familiarity with, but there are
Right.
then also things that have affected my life. So, there's
Okay.
a chapter about AA, which in some ways feels like a weird thing to have in a book
Yeah,
about.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, so AA is the OG spiritual but not religious technique. It's the first sort of group that sort of branded itself as spiritual but not religious. It's also in the therapeutic sort of medical space. It is what we give people to heal themselves from addiction. It is the solution we give people, in the US anyway. And
Right.
it is deeply religious in its origins. I know people who are in AA are like, it's not religious. I'm like, okay, but bear with me. Historically,
Right.
it comes out of a Protestant group called the Oxford Group. The 12 steps are based on these steps for, like, avoiding sin. There's God all over, the traditions
Right.
of it. Um, and so the reason why that matters is because for some people, that religion means AA can't work for them. And one of those people is my father, or was my father. He's now passed. So for me, each chapter is personal in some way like that. So that
Right.
book, I was just realizing this when I was talking about the book yesterday with someone, or writing about the book yesterday, I guess is my Substack, that I had to like write myself into some of these situations and then write myself out. So I could do all the history and then I'd get in there and realize, oh shoot, actually I have a personal story related to AA that I guess I'm going to share now. And then figure out a way out, like in terms of like what are the insights or the lessons I can learn here. And that chapter is actually a chapter about, I think the coolest thing I can learn from AA and one of the biggest lessons from religion in general for me is not so much that like I believe in God or a higher power. So interesting. I got asked to be on a podcast, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, is she a believer?" And I was like, "I don't even know what you guys mean." But they meant like, "Do you believe in God
Yeah.
with a capital
Yep.
G?" And they
Yep.
were like, "I don't think I can say that." They're like, "Okay, you're not for us then." So I don't think I believe in God with a capital G, but I do believe that I am not God, and that is actually a pretty big like threshold to get over in our hyper narcissistic individualistic I control everything, like, I'm solving the problem with my kid who's just dropped AP Physics even though she never did, all that,
Yeah.
thinking that I'm not God, that's a huge lesson, all religions decenter us in that way, so that to me is, like, my theological takeaway from AA.
Mm.
I'm not in control, I'm not God, I can accept that. I can actually accept that I'm not God. I don't need to, I don't need to understand or believe in God or attributes or things like that for to at least get to the level, well, I at least know I'm not God.
Mhm.
Is that.
Yeah.
So, kinda like me writing my way in. That's an example of me writing my way in and writing my way out of all these different topics, just to sort of share my own journey, and again, some of it will line up and some of it won't. But it's like an
Yeah.
invitation for a conversation, really.
For everyone who reads this book, it's not the question I wanna ask. What kind of world are you building?
It's funny that you said that. So, I finished this book and then I kept writing, that's what my Substack is. I kept, like, playing with the ideas because I realized that wellness was just one little example. It was a way to get people to start to try to reimagine religion with me. Because I do think religion is I think it needs to be reimagined in some ways. I think religious institutions have a bad rap for good reasons, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people have religious trauma, but I
Yeah.
also think that there's something there that's helpful for us imagining a new future, hopeful. I mean, I think in this particular political moment where I'm really finding great conversation partners with religious thinkers and traditions and theologians is like I see things breaking down,
Mhm.
right? Someone just posted today that it's like we're in this like the US government is like this bad pay for service model where you keep the price keeps going up, but the service keeps going down. Like, I feel like the world is like that, right? It becomes more and more
Yeah.
expensive and we're getting less and less like whatever. I don't know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
comfort.
Agree.
Like everything is so if you think about it as like transition, if you feel like the world's burning down or just in this enormous moment of transformation or transition, that's how I'm trying to think about it. Like if things break apart, that's an opportunity to build something new.
Right.
Not and I actually think that, like, you need to have trust that there's something new as possible, and I don't know if I would call it faith, right? But I feel like that's sort of what I'm playing with religion, like, so what is it how can these deeper conversations with these religious thought thinkers, whatever, help me get because I don't trust a lot, right? Like, I'm not very trustworthy because again, I don't have God with a capital G to trust or Jesus or whatever, and I
Yeah.
don't trust our government. Do I trust humanity? I want to. So
Mm.
how right, how do I Yeah, I mean, I'd like to. So what
Definitely not around election time.
yeah,
We're not trusting these people.
yeah, so I guess that's what I'm trying to for me, it's a progressive version of, like, what the world can look like. Not everyone will line up with my particular political values, but I just really want the conversation. Like, let's
Right.
reimagine something different than this because no one thinks this is good, right? Like, we can at least agree like, things are not good right now, like, the people are not okay, the kids are not okay, but we're not okay either,
Yeah.
um, so I guess that's where I mean, I don't know what it looks like, and I'm okay with that, I don't have, like,
Right.
here's the thing I wanna build exactly, that's what I love about you so much, you have this vision of, like, I wanna build this thing, I kinda just wanna invite the convert like, I wanna set the table and have the conversation,
Yeah.
but I don't really know where we end up. I just think
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it's something better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. What did you wanna be when you were a little girl? Probably not this.
No, like, president of,
Oh,
like
no big deal.
of, like, world. Very
Oh, a global president.
I think I was really helped by, like, I didn't have brothers. There's 3 girls in my family, and I had a really strong father, and I think that I was really helped by only having I'm the oldest, so I could, like, could do no wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was really when I was little, it was, like, either ballerina or president of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I always thought I was gonna be a lawyer. I really did think that was where I was going.
right.
My partner would say that if I had gone to law school and had gone the legal route, we would not be together because 'cause I'm such a workaholic. It would've been bad for, like, life work
Yeah,
balance.
yeah.
Um, but I actually feel extremely fortunate to have the job and career I have. I sort of have a job that doesn't exist in the same way anymore because you can get a PhD in religion. I mean, come on, and not get a job like I have, not
Right.
get a position as a professor or have this enormous amount of time to write and
Mhm.
teach publicly. So I'm like very grateful for that. I feel lucky that I'm not president of the world. I would not want to be president of the world.
Yeah, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It would not be
I
good.
mean, I could
Um,
fix the things. I would like to
I know, like
actually, if you were president of the world, I feel like we wouldn't be like this right now. But yeah, I don't want that much responsibility. I just
yes, yes.
I wanna do my part, but I don't wanna be in charge. I don't wanna be in charge anymore. I think I always wanted to be in charge. I don't really wanna be in charge anymore.
Yeah,
I be a
yeah.
better collaborator, and I really get a lot of, I spent a lot of time on my Substack and on my Instagram trying to, like, highlight the work of other people because I just
Mhm,
find that really valuable. I don't like to be the center of attention in a weird way, as
mhm.
who's always on camera
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that anymore. I know my dad said something to me once when I was a little kid. He said, "You don't need to tell people how great you are. They will just figure it out." So that'll give you a sense of what I was like as a kid, right? Like,
Oh,
and if they can't figure it out, then you probably weren't that great to start with, right? So, yeah, that's
wow.
where I'm at.
I can't help
Well,
but
that's all
think,
about dads, actually. The next time we talk, we should just talk about our dads.
no, we really do. I mean, as you know, I'm, like, embarking on this, like, memoir-esque thing,
Well, I didn't know that till I
and
read your Substack, and I was like, "We're calling it
oh,
now."
I
Okay.
think we're yeah, I finished my sessions with my writing coach, and now in a month I'm going into she does like a writers group. And she's like, it'll be good for you because it'll feel competitive. she's like, it will
Have
push
you
you
remember?
forward
Yeah.
and up. And I'm like, this is terrifying. And I'm saying, yes, take my money.
The nice way of putting that is it'll make you accountable, right? So,
It will make me
yeah,
accountable.
I think that we're social, right? I mean, I think that humans are social, but I think a social accountability with writing is always key. Whether that's someone waiting to read it, or it's because, oh, someone else wrote 1,000 words today. I better fucking write a
I
thousand
bet yes, yes, yes.
because I
All
said
of
I
the
was
things.
going to, right? Like,
All
yeah,
of the things.
that
Yeah.
kind of will help. Oh, exciting.
But yeah, it is been interesting to think of both my dad and my mom in this way where I'm going deeper instead of just like flippantly talking about them because of just sort of the memories that live on the surface or like the injustices of my childhood and really being like, well, these were full people with very full lives. And I don't have to agree with anything and everything. And my child won't agree with anything and everything having to do with me. But I want to investigate this. It's worth digging into my lineage and where I come from and who I am becoming and how it all, you know?
Yeah, where it all started.
I
I
mean, I
think
would argue listening to you, I'm just like, if you were a religious girl, even though I know you're not, if you were,
I
you
really
would
just new way. I'm
you're
fine.
religious ish.
Yeah. It's not the way you think I am.
Listening to your story, and I'm like, this feels what we would call like divine, right? That you just kind of mistakenly or by mistake or on a whim or whatever, you end up on this path. You said in the beginning of this conversation that you've written 4 other books. all of a sudden, now, like, your work meets the moment where we most need your work. Everything blows up. You're quoted and you're interviewed and all of these things happen. And so, us in the capital G God community would be like, this was how it was supposed to be. The whole
So,
time.
it's funny to me what it seems like it's just that it's back to that like being a better collaborator. I think I just am better at a better listener to my audience, my potential reader. Like, I think I
Mhm.
just have a sense of what's going on a little bit, right? So
Yeah,
sometimes I was a little worried I was writing this book that I was like just writing a book about me. And then as soon as I started like talking about it on social media or in Substack, I was like, no, everyone's like, oh my God, thank God this has been bothering me for a really long time.
yeah,
Like, yes, I realized that the wellness industry was like not serving its purpose. Yeah, or maybe they're not ready to follow me to the religion place yet, but they're like, okay, maybe just I'll give you like the benefit of the doubt for a little bit. Let's play this idea of religion. So I don't think
right,
it's actually me. I think it's just a particular moment that I was like, "Ha, this is going on," and no one really wants to talk about it because religion has such a big PR problem. I'll talk about it because I don't care. So let's.
love it. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
yeah,
happens.
we will. We'll just the journey is long if you're lucky, you know?
Thing too is like partly this you just heard like because I'm 50, so I have a different perspective on my life. Like I was joking, I stopped posting this because I thought it might be alienating, but I'm in my zero fucks era. Like I don't really care. I'm already a full professor at Northeastern. There's no place to go. Like that's as high as you go
Right,
as or you go assistant, associate, full. I'm there. I'm like so
right,
like I'm not trying to move from Northeastern. I like where I am. People try to hire me other places. They don't want to go other places. I'm not trying nothing I do like changes my career that way.
right.
I'm not writing over my shoulder trying to make my advisor happy or my dean happy. So I'm just trying to lead with my chest and be
Mhm,
myself in my
mhm.
writing because it's more fun. And it just turns out when you do that, people are like, oh, like they respond
Yeah,
more.
they feel it. They
They
do.
feel, they feel it. Yeah.
They
And it's
do.
way more fun to do. But anyway, I'm excited for your book too. And the only thing I was going to say about that is it's interesting because you have your father who's passed, but your mother who's not. And
Mhm.
it's very, and I have the same thing. My mother is also a character in my book.
Can't wait.
And yeah,
Can't wait.
and my dad who has passed is and it's, it's a different tension there too, right? Like how you
Yeah.
write someone who's gone, that memory and that impact, and then how, you write about, my poor mother who I, like, wrote about on Substack. I was afraid to call her after, one of the murders in Minneapolis because I wasn't sure what news she was seeing, and of course, she read my Substack and was like, "Wait a minute, you're really afraid to call?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm really afraid." Yeah, okay. So,
Well, that takes care of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. But it's different when you write about when you're writing a memoir and you're talking about parents in your life,
Yeah.
like, you wanna tell your story or, like, I had some difficulty figuring out how to talk
Yeah, yeah.
to my daughter, there's a story kind of about my daughter, but I couldn't it's really her story. So you
Right.
a
So you
little bit of
couldn't.
it
Yeah,
through me, but it's not yeah, it's hard. That's a challenge, so,
yeah. My
let me
coach gave me she was like, "Talk to your mom. Tell her you are writing this thing." And so I called and I was like, "So I think I'm writing a book and yeah, you'll be in it." And surprisingly, she was so excited. I think it felt good for her as a mom to know that there was something that she did really, really right.
um, and one other thing I can say about that is that for my mom reading the books when she's a character in them and then reading my Substack, I think it makes her feel much closer to me. She's
Wow.
like I know you really well in a way I don't know you as an adult. So like the more honest and raw you can be, it actually has made our relationship better. She's like, I just didn't like I just feel so close it's funny because I'm writing for like 12,000, 13,000 people right now, but my mom feels like I'm writing
Wow.
for her. And that's sort of like that's a sweet sort of like
That's really sweet. So I always ask every guest to, well, one, you're going to have to plug your work. But before we get there, is there anything you can leave us? Any quote or piece of advice or anything for the women who listen to this podcast? And some men. I think only my husband, but like,
shout out to Mark.
shout
Uh,
out to Mark. We love him.
whenever Mark showed up on the Zoom call, I was like, here's the old dude in the corner saying, "Go, Mark, we got these burpees." So competitive, so good. Yeah, everyone get you a Mark, get you a man who will support you. I mean, I don't know do I have any advice? No, I am, like, in the work world. I really am. I I am in it with you, kinda just solidarity, quite frankly, that's
Love that.
a lovely takeaway.
Love
Um, and yeah, if people wanna, like, connect with me, the best thing to do, the sweetest thing to do, my love language right now is ordering my book or pre-ordering my book, Beyond Wellness, which you can do on my website or wherever you buy books. On lizbucar.com, lizbucar.com. I have a book tab and I have like everywhere you can buy it. So you don't have to just buy it on Amazon, like all the places. Um, the cool reason to do that before April 28th is you get two bonuses. You get to read the mindfulness chapter right away, and you get a workbook based on the mindfulness chapter to kind of like do some of the stuff that we'll be doing in our workshop, a version of that of what we're doing in our workshop at Down Under. So
it.
there's that. There's my Substack called Religion Reimagined. If you're a Substack person, just warned, I write a lot. I write one or two essays a week because I love it. And you can subscribe for free. Nothing is paywalled. And then what I really hope is that people will come and join us at Down Under because let me just say, I'm so excited about this. So, like, usually a book launch happens at, like, I don't know, like a bookstore or, like, for me at a university in a big hall with, like, professors. And when you suggested, like, you want to do something like movement based, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. It's like a mini, like, retreat like that. Well, if we are actually pitching the multi-day
Yeah.
retreat, big retreat centers, but this is like a smaller version of that. Well, I'll tell you just a little bit about the book. Ashley will move you through some movement, and then I'm making something like, again, a workbook just for this, which is going to be based on kind of like yoga, but also the movement stuff that we were talking about, so that there's some prompts and things for us to work through together in pairs and small groups and one on one. You take that with you, do whatever you want, just as a way to like some container for reflection. So some of like the fun stuff that I would do with students, right? But you just get it.
Yeah.
So I just hope people will come. I think I'm really excited because like I think we are learning from each other when we do these things. And I think it will be like for me, it's like the best way, like the most fun way to launch a book, right? In like in a place like that with you.
But part of why this is so cool for both of us too is that, this is a multi-generational, multi-racial, multi-religious like collaboration here. It's not often that you get people that are so different but that align on these key points that can bring something special in person, and I think that yeah, we would just really love to have you in the room.
Yeah, we both are usually invited to do this with different types of groups, right? But to bring what we both kind of bring to the table together and to collaborate and to come up with something different and new. And I'm really excited about it. So I'm hoping people will yeah.
Liz, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I could chat with you all day. It's like such a good excuse to hang out with you. I'm like, come on the podcast.
Our
But no,
animals were so good too. I didn't hear your
I
cat. Did your
know
dog get to sleep?
he left.
Yeah,
He left me.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you, Ashley. It's great to
Thank
talk.
you. Appreciate you. All right, everybody. Follow Liz, pre-order the book, and then we will see you on May 2nd at Down Under Central Square. I will link everything in the show notes. Follow the show. Keep listening.